Do you find it weird they're not interested about why Kamala Harris was not at the Capitol on January 6th, but was at the DNC when a pipe bomb was outside?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Why doesn't Kamala Harris? They keep saying it's an insurrection. Why doesn't she tell that story?
It's a rigged deal. The whole thing is rigged, 100% rigged.
If you get elected, and we hope that happens, can you get an answer as to
Donald Trump's interviews continue to get worse and worse. And it's not just for the typical reasons that we expect now. We know whenever Donald Trump opens his mouth, it is bound to go wrong, bound to backfire. But what we're seeing more than Donald Trump just being deranged and losing it is how these interviews end, that it's going so badly for him. Because as we know, and as Donald Trump's staff clearly knows, he is exhausted. He is out of it. He is unfit to not only be president, but he's unfit to be a candidate. He just can't do anymore. And so they're cutting off his interviews. He is abruptly ending them early, and it is leaving the MAGA Fox hosts and really Trump stows who are always interviewing him pretty shocked because they're asking him softball questions they think he can hang, but not even in the easiest of interviews can Donald Trump stick around for more than a couple of minutes. And we saw that today when Donald Trump appeared on Dan Bongino's podcast, the most MAGA of all the podcasters, and abruptly left in a moment that left. And Gino's shocked because Donald Trump is so out of it, and we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and want to join this community that we're building on YouTube, it goes a long way and really means the world to me. And like I said, this was an unhinged interview, so we're just going to get right into it.
I think the worst scandal I've ever seen in broadcast history will maybe not be as much of a scandal. If that were a Republican, it would have been over. When they changed Kamala's answer, they didn't edit. They took her entire, which showed she was crazy. They took it out, the entire paragraph, and it was a long, lots of, they say word salad. I don't like the term, actually, but they say word salad. It was just words, like rambling words, horrible. Yeah. So they take it out, and they put another statement that she made 2 pages later. They insert it, and nobody would have known the difference, and they got caught. They got caught.
Yeah, you've nailed CBS.
And I think it's the worst scandal. You know, it's one thing if they took even a sentence off, because they do that with me all the time. Because I like to speak in long sentences, paragraphs, right? And if they take a sentence out like in the middle, it really does screw it up. But think of this. They took the whole thing in and they replaced it with a totally unrelated time and place. And they put it in. And that's the only one that we caught. And we want them to release the tapes now.
Donald Trump is so obsessed with VP Harris's appearance on 60 Minutes. Not just in my opinion, because he still has grievance and anger towards Leslie Stahl for the interview they conducted in which he rightfully fact-checked him, but I think he is just so angry that he can't do what VP Harris did. He can't answer tough questions. He can't even answer easy questions on Fox. We've seen this. He completely falls apart. And so it's that jealousy that is coming out of Donald Trump. It's why we see him project his insecurities on her, saying she needs to take a cognitive test or she isn't smart or unwilling to do tough interviews because he knows that is only true about him. And of course, we saw that come out in Donald Trump's debate with Kamala Harris. And it's the reason he's still fixated on attacking David Muir, as we can see right here.
But how about David Muir? Everything I said.
Right. Crime is down, right?
No, everything I said, he questioned. There wasn't a thing. Every single thing I said, he questioned. And he was wrong, I think, on every one of them, I'm pretty sure. But he never questioned her. And she talked about Charlottesville. She talked all things that have been, as they say, debunked. Another term I don't like, but it's, a pretty accurate term. All totally debunked. Bloodbath. They used a bloodbath. I was talking about the car industry, right? Not talking about a bloodbath. He used the word bloodbath. Right. These people are sick. You got to say, though, they are good at what they do. You have to admire it.
Yeah, listen,
they are sick.
Now, I think I have a little bit of a different perspective on why Donald Trump is so angry with David Muir than we typically would. Now, of course, him being fact-checked by David is what has him so upset. But before that debate with VP Harris, Harris, we saw Donald Trump heaping praise onto David Muir. I think his expectation is that he would go easy on him. And so I think the reason why he is so upset and continues to bring up the debate and those fact checks that he had, which Donald, if you didn't want to get fact checked, maybe don't lie, is because he was so shocked that David Muir would fact check him, especially when he thought that wasn't going to be allowed in the rules. And that's why he has this grievance. It's why he is so upset. And it's, of course, not the only thing that he has agreed about, and lying about the January 6th insurrectionist and the January 6th convicts have been a big topic of conversation as Donald Trump has been discussing that day more and more. And what he said about them in this clip will absolutely stun you.
Do you find it weird they're not interested about why Kamala Harris was not at the Capitol on January 6th, but was at the DNC when a pipe bomb was outside?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Why doesn't Kamala Harris? They keep saying it's an insurrection. Why doesn't she tell that story?
It's a rigged deal. The whole thing is rigged, 100% rigged.
If you get elected, and we hope that happens, can you get an answer as to why she was there?
I do believe. Look, this is really corrupt stuff. The other thing is, as you know, they really won in the Supreme Court. Okay, the Fisher case and the various cases. Why are they still being held? Nobody's ever been treated like this. Nobody's ever. Maybe the Japanese during Second World War, frankly.
Donald Trump has always been one to make unhinged comparisons, but saying that January 6th convicts who broke the law and attacked our Capitol, attacked our government, attacked Capitol police officers, they're being treated worse than Japanese Americans in internment camps. That is out of control. And it's just sad that the mainstream media will not pick up on that. They will not cover that. If it was anyone else on the planet who said that it would be the biggest story for the rest of the campaign, but of course this will get swept under the rug because it's Donald Trump and they don't care to cover him. But of course we have to. What an insane thing to say. The pivot that he's been making on January 6th lately, calling it a day of love, calling it this incredible time when everyone was hugging and having fun, and it was a totally peaceful event, is not being covered enough. We need to call it out. What we also need to call out is Donald Trump trying to backtrack and trying to cover up all the people from his past administration who have called him out, as he did right here.
Do you have a set of people now you can trust who, when we get in, because we're not going to have a lot of time. In 2 years, there could be a midterm issue. Right. We've got 2 years to clean this disaster up. You feel like you've got a roster, like a team
So
of
when
hitters?
I first got elected, Dan, I was only, you probably heard me say this story, but I was there 17 times in Washington, D.C. So I wasn't a Washington person. I knew really nobody there. And mostly because I was building a hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue, and a beautiful hotel that I sold to the Waldorf Astoria. I did.
I love that hotel.
But I did a beautiful job. But that was mostly for that. So I was essentially never in Washington. So I didn't know people. So I had to rely on people, for big positions. I'm saying, hey, do you know anybody that can be like this job and that job? And generally, I got it very good. We had Lighthizer, Trade. We had a lot of good guys. But we also made some mistakes. Made mistakes at Attorney General, made mistakes. I made some mistakes. And I don't really blame myself for it. They were highly recommended by rhinos, and they weren't the right people. They just weren't the right people. And there were some other positions too. Mostly I got it right. Nobody ever talks about the good. We had a lot of great people, right, but we had some mistakes. And
you fired them.
I fired them. And here's what happens. When I fire, because I'm famous or whatever, for whatever reason, when I fire them, immediately the book companies go to them and they say, we'll give you a book if you say bad things about Trump.
And that's why he likes to continue to talk about this, saying, I'll have better people next time, when in fact those people are just going to be implemented through Project 2025 and should scare the hell out of all of us. Because not only is Project 2025 about implementing dangerous and bad policy, it's about giving unchecked power to all the Trump stews throughout government as Donald Trump continues to collapse and deteriorate, because that is what he is doing. He is completely out of control. He's also out of energy. And that's why we saw, as I said earlier, Trump have to cut off this interview, both him and his handlers ready to end it in this clip right here.
than Biden.
Yeah, no, she's horrible. Can I ask you a really...
Hey, Dan, I got to get going.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're going crazy.
All right. Folks, I'm sorry. We got to wrap it up with the president.
You can see kind of the shock on Dan Bongino's face when Donald Trump abruptly ends the interview. He's like, we've only been doing this for like 10 minutes. Why are you're done already? So clearly, he didn't even expect Donald Trump to be this low in energy, but seriously, this is a softball interview. Donald Trump can't even sit for one of these. He's just allowed to lie. He's allowed to BS. He's allowed to ramble. He's allowed to weave. And that's even too much for him. We have seen more and more reports that Donald Trump is canceling interviews, canceling speaking appearances, canceling town halls, because he is just too tired now. If he's too tired to campaign, we're seeing VP Harris do multiple canned campaign stops a day. He's clearly too tired and also too out of it, and UNC out of control to be president. It's incredibly clear, couldn't be more obvious. And we see that the out of control nature of Trump, more so in this interview right here.
I think we have more of an enemy from within than we do from outside. You know, if you have a smart president, they talk about China and Russia and everything else. If you have a smart president, they're not going to be the problem. We have a bigger problem from within.
He continues to talk about the enemy from within as much as Republicans want to cover up his insanity. Try to sandwash him. We saw Glenn Younan do this. What a goose say. Oh no, that's not what Donald Trump means. He doesn't actually mean that. No. It's what he means. He is saying it. It's what he means. We know he's making it clear. You can't defend him. It is indefensible. That's why Jessica Tarlow had to call it out in this club right here.
He calls January 6th now a day of love. We have moved from, we should move on from January 6th to this was a day of love. And what I found perhaps the most interesting was that he kept saying we to encompass him and the insurrectionists. So now he's on that team.
They're not insurrectionists.
The tourists. The tourists with zip ties. He says we, and he's now called them hostages, which is a very strange...
Keep playing the Jan 6 card.
Okay, I will. But this came from someone who had supported him. This isn't...
I would love to see if Donald Trump is only going to do interviews with Fox. How about one with Jessica Taroff? It can be on your propaganda outlet, Donald. It could be on your propaganda network, but do it with Jessica. That would be a dream. I'd love to see that. Let me know. If you want to see that too, maybe we could start a petition, get some momentum going for that. And we're going to keep calling Donald Trump out regardless on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you're stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.